The CIA had all these documents that they were holding, and there was a Freedom of Information Act request on the issue of what we did before 9/11, because it might shed light into what we could do right going forward. And so the National Security Archive has gotten a hold of 120 documents from the CIA now, and they are now public. So what do we find out from it? Well, we find out that it turns out the CIA gave 7 different warnings to the Bush administration. Bin Laden is coming. Al-Qaeda is coming. Be careful. There's a serious threat. It's imminent. Let me tell you all about it. And in fact, Bush administration wanted no part of it. He was on leave, as the head of the CIA described it, for the entire month of August, which actually tied a record for the longest vacation ever taken by a president. And remember, this was just barely into his first term. And of course, there was a famous moment when a CIA agent went to Crawford, Texas, where Bush was on leave, and he gave him a warning about Al-Qaeda, and he said, "You covered your ass, now go home." Now we find out more details. Well, according to Barbara Elias Sanborn, who's the NSA fellow that edited these materials, she says, quote, "I don't think the Bush administration would want to see these released because they paint a picture of the CIA knowing something would happen before 9/11, but they didn't get the institutional support they needed." So here's the CIA saying over and over, and we've seen other CIA agents come out, write books, etc., saying, hey, you know what, we tried to tell the administration. We tried over and over again. And of course, it's embarrassing to the Bush administration that they couldn't do anything. In fact, it turns out that they had bin Laden in their sights, that a drone spotted him 2 different times and made an ID. We have bin Laden. And they didn't fire. Okay. And part of it was that they thought, well, we don't want to put funding into turning the drones into offensive weapons. We just want to do this as information gathering. But here's a CIA guy saying, no, no, bin Laden's really dangerous. We think he's the guy who did, you know, the USS Cole, the Yemen bombings, etc., the Kenya embassy bombings. We got to get him. And basically, they don't even pay attention. In fact, they didn't have a principal level meeting on Al-Qaeda. And what that means, principals are the top people in the administration, until September 4th of that year, 2001. So exactly a week before we got hit on September 11th. And here's Richard Clarke, who was left over from the Clinton administration, and his hair's on fire. In fact, the Bush administration makes fun of him. They say, oh, this guy's so panicked about Al-Qaeda, he keeps wanting to have a hearing about it. Or not a hearing, but a meeting about it internally. He's like, yeah, they're coming, they're coming. Okay, so now more details. The CIA explains it was too late for the departing Clinton administration to take action on this strategic request, but that as soon as the Bush administration came in, they had all the information, they had the request, they had the proposal. They're like, please let us go get bin Laden. And the answer was, we'll talk about it later. No, no, no. In fact, here were some of the specific senior intelligence briefings given to the administration. Things like, quote, bin Laden and associates making near-term threats. And then a person whose name is redacted says, expects Osama bin Laden to launch multiple attacks over the coming days. How much clearer could they be? He's coming. We've got it. We have the information. Please get ready. Quote, bin Laden determined to strike the U.S. Now, this is one that was famous and we already knew about, but that also gets released with the other information. How much clearer than they need to be? Here's another one. Al-Qaeda members, including some U.S. citizens, have resided in or traveled to the U.S. for years, and the group apparently maintains a support structure here. In other words, they're already here. They're determined to strike. It's coming imminently. Please do something. And in the records that were already released, we already saw that they said they might be targeting Washington, New York. In fact, when you look at it, it's actually not that much of a breakdown of intelligence. It's amazing how much we knew about it. And yet, we did nothing. Nothing. Had bin Laden twice, didn't go for it. Ignored 7 different briefings saying that they are about to act unilaterally. And then the great irony is that the Bush administration turned this around and used it as their biggest advantage in the next election. They said, oh, you got to vote for Bush again. He protected us during 9/11. But he literally did the exact opposite. He didn't protect us at all. He sat in his ranch and Crawford, Texas for a whole month, breaking vacation records. Here are guys with their hair on fire in the building. Go pay attention. They don't even meet about it until a week before the terrorist strike happens. It should have been his greatest deficit, his greatest weakness. It should have been the thing that his opponents ran against, saying, we can't let somebody like this be in a position where they are so negligent that this happens again. And instead, because of the amazing job the Republicans do in politics and the horrible job the Democrats do, the Republicans turned it into their advantage and said, you see that? Because of 9/11, you have to reelect us. When the facts are the exact opposite.